mentioned to him that we're running this campaign, and he said, I really want information on that. My daughter's very interested. I've got to tell her all about it. But in the end, it was the charismatic President Obama who spoke to a large contingent of businessmen today, CEOs from India and America. The question is, did he connect with India? Did he give us as much as he took? Did he live up to expectations, or are our expectations very different or very high? And the key question is India no longer a country which is stretching its hands out wanting things? We can also contribute. And it was almost like a person coming, like David Cameron when he came from England, coming as equals. And is India ready to be an equal? Or are we still in that old mentality that we only take and we don't give? I felt it was fairly positive to see India ready to offer America as almost as much, if not more, than America can offer India. That is a sea change from earlier years. But anyway, I'm running ahead of the story to get a perspective on the impact and the first impressions of President Obama on the show tonight. We have Anand Mahindra, who was there with him and had a separate session, a 1-hour session with President Obama. We've got Louis Shenvert, the head of United Technologies. We've got Rajan Bharti Mittal, who's actually key in this whole visit. He's the president of FICCI. And joining us a little later will be Ron Summers. He is the president of the US-India Business Council, which organized the whole session today. And Sanjay Puri, who's president of the Alliance for US-India Business. So it was a day for business. And when I think the rest of the political aspects of this whole visit are going to come tomorrow or day after, when he meets the Prime Minister and when he's in Delhi. So for people to expect him to start talking about terrorism today, that wasn't quite on his agenda. But first, let me get Anand Mahindra, who was extremely articulate today in the panel. Anand, your first reaction to Obama's speech?
Pranoy, I've watched a number of his speeches throughout his political campaign for election, and he's had some ups and downs. He's had some speeches which weren't as good as his high points, like the Pastor Wright speech, for example. I actually thought he's beginning to hit some highs again with today's speech. I was very impressed with the balance he made between pure nuts and bolts business and rattling off statistics about what kind of revenues and exports he wanted to gain out of India. But towards the end, he segued into a wonderfully lyrical evocation of Dharavi and of the aspirations of India and the US, the entrepreneurial aspirations of India and the US. Apart from the normal cliches about shared democracies, he talked about the shared energy and the shared entrepreneurial aspirations, and I think he did a masterful job.
Right, and in many ways, I think I was repeating some of the thoughts which you gave everybody at the session today about India as equals, and are we used to it, or are we still looking to what can we get without giving anything? Just summarize that aspect of this new kind of dynamic between India and America, of two equals rather than of one complete dominating other.
Well, in the session, the question was asked as to whether it was fair for America to ask India, a still very underdeveloped country, to help create jobs in America. And I thought to myself that, well, frankly, isn't this an indication of how far we've come? 15 years later, just a scant 15 years earlier, if you asked an American what his dominant mental image of India was, it would be of a very gaunt, bony arm, being outstretched, needing food, a hungry child, a malnutrition child. Today, somebody else is coming to us with an outstretched hand. I think this is not the time to go back and regress to our old image and say, hey, hang on a minute, we are not developed, we are underdeveloped. give us more. You know, the old Oliver Twist, please sir, I want some more. It's time to grow beyond Oliver Twist. No sir, we don't want some more. We're ready to give at this point. And I think Indian companies are ready to give. Nobody's asked us, but we have created jobs and we can create more. And while we are doing those, we are not creating those jobs out of altruism. We think America is still an enormous market which we want to profit from. So there is merit in that old cliche of a win-win.
Right. In fact, Rajan, the same thing when Cameron, the British Prime Minister came, he wanted a lot of stuff out of India. Did you notice in Obama's speech that he did talk about something which Indians have been doing a lot of, emphasizing a lot, is that our investments in America and through imports of American goods, India already creates a huge amount of jobs in America. And President Obama talked about that as well. How many jobs in America Indians are already creating?
I think President was very clear. Yeah, I'm here. President was quite very clear in his statement, his very pragmatic approach that he came, and I am glad to be an Indian of today's age to say that India has arrived. When British Prime Minister was here and now President Obama here talking about the jobs and Indian investment in US, Indian companies have invested almost over $5 billion in the last 4 to 5 years. 327 companies acquired, 127 greenfield projects. Now India is on the forefront to create jobs. The good part of the statement was that President Obama was very clear that I want to engage India, not for today, not for tomorrow, but a long-term strategic partnership between the two nations. I think his statement clearly spoke, as far as the economic agenda was concerned, that we are equal partners in the progress of the 21st century.
Yeah, if I can just bring in Mr. Chenoweth here. As CEO, looking towards India, looking to expand your business in India, you heard Obama's address. A lot of that address was aimed at the US, the people of America. Your first reactions to Obama's address as an American?
Well, I think the President's address was very inspiring. I think the President emphasized the importance of the India relationship with the U.S. and the win-win aspect. He also emphasized on some of the areas that perhaps needs to be focused on and addressed. Some of these big infrastructure projects, some of the focus areas that will certainly accelerate the transformation and basically make the two countries even closer together as we move forward.
So, Mr. Chenoweth, would you say this is a kind of, we're reaching a new high for Indo-US strategic relationship with over 250 business executives coming along with the President? That's the largest ever presidential delegation. But how is this going to be taken forward, do you think, now?
Well, first of all, I'm absolutely honored to be part of the U.S.-India CEO conference, and I think it's a strong statement on the importance of the relationship between U.S. and India. There's many opportunities between our two countries that go from aerospace products to commercial products, where certainly we can create with the strong middle class that's growing here, the urbanization factor, all the infrastructure that's being built in India. There's tremendous opportunity to bring best-in-class product to this market. And our strategy at United Technologies is always to find ways also to do this by localizing as much content as we can. That's why we have a nice factory that produces, for example, elevators in Bangalore for the India market. We have a factory in Gurgaon that produces HVAC system for this market. And you can expect that going forward, we will continue to add some local content to better compete